The boy. 12-year-old Malik Johnson lived in a small, rundown apartment on the south side of the city with his mother, younger sister, and grandmother. His father had been out of the picture for years, leaving his mother, Latasha, to work multiple jobs to keep food on the table. Despite their financial struggles, Malik was a kind-hearted and responsible boy, always looking out for his family. Life wasn't easy. Their neighborhood was rough, and Malik had learned early on to stay out of trouble. He loved reading, especially superhero comics, and often dreamed of being a hero himself. He believed that heroes didn't always wear capes. Sometimes they were just ordinary people who did the right thing when no one else would. One day, as he walked home from school, he had no idea that his belief in heroism was about to be put to the test in the most unexpected way. As Malik walked home, flipping through the pages of his worn-out comic book, he heard a loud crash from across the street. Startled, he looked up and saw a police cruiser slammed against a streetlight. Smoke curled from the engine, and the windshield was cracked. His heart pounded as he saw the driver, a pregnant police officer, struggling to open the door. Her face was pale, and she clutched her stomach in pain. Malik hesitated for only a second. The neighborhood had a complicated relationship with the police, and he had been taught to be cautious. But this wasn't about that. Someone was in trouble. Summoning his courage, Malik ran toward the wrecked car, not realizing that this single decision would change his life forever. Malik sprinted toward the crashed police car, his heart pounding. Smoke poured from the hood, and the pregnant officer inside struggled to push the door open. Her face was twisted in pain, one hand clutching her stomach. "Help! I can't," she gasped, her voice weak. Without hesitation, Malik grabbed the door handle and yanked with all his strength. It wouldn't budge. He looked around and saw a metal pipe lying near the curb. He grabbed it and wedged it into the doorframe, using all his weight to pry it open. With a loud creak, the door finally swung open. The officer groaned as she tried to move, but Malik could see she was hurt. "Ma'am, we gotta go! The car could catch fire!" Malik urged. Bracing himself, he reached under her arm and helped her out of the vehicle. She winced but managed to stand with his support. As they stumbled away, flames flickered under the hood. Seconds later, a loud boom echoed through the street as the front of the car burst into flames. The officer gasped, looking back at the wreckage, then turned to Malik with wide, teary eyes. You saved my life." Malik swallowed hard, still shaking. He had no idea that saving her would be a crisis. While the world saw Malik as a hero, at home, things were far from easy. His mother, Latasha, was struggling to keep up with rent, and eviction notices had already started coming in. His grandmother's medical bills were piling up, and his little sister needed new clothes for school. Despite all the attention Malik was getting, their financial situation hadn't changed. Interviews and news stories didn't pay the bills. His mother worked long shifts at a diner, barely making enough to keep food on the table. One evening, as Malik sat at the kitchen table doing his homework, he overheard his mother talking in a hushed voice. "Please, I just need a little more time," she begged over the phone. "I promise I'll have the money soon." Malik clenched his fists. He had saved someone's life, but he couldn't save his own family from struggling. He felt powerless. What he didn't know was that help was coming, from the most unexpected place. A few days after the rescue, there was a knock at the door. Malik opened it to find Officer Daniels, the pregnant police officer he had saved, standing there with a warm smile. She was no longer in uniform, just wearing casual clothes, and she carried a small gift bag in her hands. Malik's mother, Latasha, hesitated before inviting her in. Their family had never been close to the police, but this officer was different. She wasn't here for trouble. "I just wanted to thank you properly, Malik," Officer Daniels said, placing a hand on her stomach. "If it weren't for you, my baby and I might not be here today." She handed him the gift bag. Inside was a brand new tablet, something Malik had always wanted but knew his family couldn't afford. His eyes widened in shock. "I thank you," he stammered, unsure how to respond. But Officer Daniels wasn't done. She glanced at Latasha and saw the stress on her face. "I also heard about what you're going through," she added gently. "And I think I can help." Latasha's eyes narrowed slightly. "Help how?" Officer Daniels smiled. "Just hear me out. Malik had no idea that her next words would change their lives forever. Officer Daniels didn't just thank Malik, she took action. She shared his story with her fellow officers, local businesses, and community leaders, rallying support for his family. Within days, donations started pouring in. A local grocery store provided free groceries for months. A landlord, moved by Malik's bravery, offered them a more affordable apartment. A lawyer stepped forward to help with their eviction case. The biggest surprise came when a local charity launched a Shah Scholarship Fund in Malik's name, ensuring he and his little sister could continue their education without financial stress. Malik watched in shock as people, total strangers, came together to help. His mother, who had always believed they had to struggle alone, wiped tears from her eyes as she realized they weren't alone anymore. All of this because he had decided to help someone in need. Malik had no idea that his one act of kindness would create a wave of change that would lift his entire family out of hardship. As the days passed, Malik noticed something surprising. His family's view of the police was shifting. His mother, Latasha, had always been wary of law enforcement. She had seen too many negative encounters in their community and had warned Malik to be careful. But seeing Officer Daniels and her colleagues genuinely care about their well being made her rethink her perspective. One evening, Officer Daniels invited them to a community event at the police station. At first, Latasha hesitated, but Malik encouraged her to go. When they arrived, officers greeted them warmly. There were families, local leaders, and even kids from Malik's school. "I never thought I'd be standing here," Latasha admitted, shaking hands with another officer. "And I never thought a kid would save my life," Officer Daniels replied with a smile. For the first time, Malik saw hope, a bridge forming between two worlds that had long been divided. His act of kindness had not only saved lives, but also sparked a conversation about understanding, trust, and change. Moment. One afternoon, Officer Daniels visited Malik's home again, but this time she had a special announcement. "I wanted you to be the first to know," she said with a smile, resting a hand on her belly. "I had a baby boy, and I named him Malik." Malik's eyes widened in shock. "Wait, after me?" Officer Daniels nodded. "Because you saved both of us." Tears welled up in Latasha's eyes. That's incredible. But that wasn't the only surprise. The police department and local businesses had come together to offer Latasha a new job with better pay, and a community organization had arranged for Malik to join a mentorship program, helping kids like him achieve their dreams. Malik realized in that moment his one act of bravery had done more than just save a life. It had given his entire family a new beginning. Months passed, and life had completely changed for Malik and his family. His mother, Latasha, now had a steady job, and they had moved into a safer, more comfortable home. His little sister had new clothes and school supplies, and for the first time in years, their family felt secure. Malik had also gained something invaluable, a mentor in Officer Daniels. She visited often, bringing baby Malik with her. Seeing the little boy who shared his name reminded Malik of how one moment of courage had transformed everything. At school, Malik was no longer just the quiet kid who loved comics. He was a hero, inspiring others to be brave and kind. He even joined a youth leadership program, determined to help kids in his neighborhood find hope like he had. As he sat on his new bed one night, flipping through a fresh stack of comic books, he smiled to himself. Heroes didn't always wear capes. Sometimes they were just ordinary kids who made a choice to help no matter what.